Hey everyone, we
How
are
you doing?
Yes. We are in Buffalo. We left Chicago this morning. Our trip was over. Our trip in Chicago is over. We're now making the trip to go back to Maine. But we wanted to recap, everything we did from our last video, which was all about day one at the National. So day two, we did a lot more looking around. There were so many things to see there that it was truly amazing. You can't do it in one day. In fact, you really can't. You can't even do it in 2 days.
No.
It's just so huge and so overwhelming that if you really want to hit every booth and every table, it's got to be a minimum 3-day thing. And even when we were there for all 4 days, for 4 of the 5 days, I'm willing to bet there were still things that I know I missed.
Well, and part of it was, you're making a cursory look, so you're going fairly quickly. So although we may have hit every inch of the place, again, for me, if I'm looking for vintage stuff, I'm just bypassing the newer stuff and vice versa.
Yeah.
I'm sure we saw it all without seeing it all.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Now, one of the interesting things about day two was, of course, we went around, we did our own thing, did some shopping around, negotiating and all that. But then we decided we were going to participate in what's called trade night. And trade night is a very popular thing, apparently, where around, what time did we have to get in line to get the bracelets?
I know I got there at about 11:20 because I figured I should probably be there before 12:30 or 12, I should say, for a 1 o'clock wristband.
Yeah.
And I got there at 20 after 11, and I was in the back of a line that eventually got snaked so that I still was far in the line, but way closer than I was.
Yeah. And the bracelets are what allowed us to get in, I guess, early access or guaranteed access into trade night. And they weren't even handing out the bracelets until 1 o'clock. So Tim called me. I went up there with him. And when I got up there, Tim realized, oops, I want to go look at something. So I watched his stuff. He took off. Then I did the exact same thing when he came back up. But long story short, we got our bracelets and then did the rest of our looking around we wanted to do for that day. And then at about 4:30-ish, 4:45-ish, we got in line for trade night. Trade night started at 6. And basically what trade night is you were led into this huge ballroom where there were tables set up everywhere. And you basically took a table with a bunch of other people and you kind of set up your own sales booth. And people would walk around and look at your stuff and, oh, I like that right there. How much do you want for that? Or are you willing to trade this for that? And it went from 6 to 11. We didn't stay until 11 because it was a long day. We had gotten there it started at 9 for us, so we got there at 8:30 in the morning. So, we were there about 12 hours that day. And I realized in the line that I had forgotten, the best stuff that I was going to bring for trade night. So I was thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? I'm not going to have anything to trade. And I had a bunch of Michael Jordans, but it wasn't really any high-end stuff, but it was a lot of stuff. And Tim had his stuff, and my brother Mike had his stuff. So we got to a table and set out all of our stuff. And within 15 minutes, a guy came over and, hey, you got Jordans here. How much do you want for them? And long story short, he bought them all. He bought every single one of them and then looked at Tim's stuff and started going through all of his Jordans and buying stuff from him. And my brother sold a couple cards that night, but sold most of the rest of his cards for a big number the next day. So he made out really well too. Yes. Maybe not necessarily during the trade night, but after that. And Tim, do you have anything you want to say about trade night? Or?
Well, just that it's for me, it was a misnomer in that I wasn't doing any trading because I was sitting at that table, and the guy came and he was there for 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
Oh yeah, maybe even longer than that.
Maybe longer.
Yeah.
Because again, it's one of those things where even out as an old guy, you know, the younger guy coming to buy your cards, they're gonna look them up online and they're gonna tell you what the last one sold for, and
Yep.
they're gonna hope you go down there, and then he's gonna say, well, I need to be at a certain price.
Yeah.
So you need to be aware. I think, and I was early on with this guy, that he's just getting them to resell.
Yep.
And if it was anything, I did not want to go to his level of sales. I just didn't.
Yeah.
You know, as an example, if he told me a card sold for $20 and he was going to need to get it for 10, I wasn't willing in a lot of cases to do that.
Yeah.
And partly because I still do card shows. I still am a dealer, a couple times a month in some cases, sometimes once a month. And I said, you know what? I don't need to get rid of all my inventory. If you wanted to buy it, awesome.
Yep.
Like you did with Pete and all his Jordans. But ultimately, I think a lot of people were coming around, and instead of going, do you want to trade for this, or what do you have to trade for this, it was, how much do you want for this?
Yeah.
So, although there may have been some trading, and I'm sure there was,
Yeah.
a lot of it seemed more like sales.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting in line for a 6 o'clock opening door at about 4:30, as Pete said, but we were in the front, and at some point behind us, they shut it off. People couldn't go in.
Yeah.
Nor could people go out. We were sitting with a gentleman that unfortunately had to go to the bathroom, and he left, and they wouldn't let him in.
Yeah.
And they said that the fire codes say that they've got too many people in there. And he tried to convince them that, hey, I'm already in there. My cards are in there. My buddies are in there. And after what, 15 minutes at least, maybe 20,
Yeah.
he was back. So yeah, if you do go, and if you do go to a trade night, you're pretty much locked in.
Yeah. And for me, you know, after I sold everything, for me, I just kind of sat there like, okay, you know, what am I going to do now? So Tim asked if I could spread out some of his cards in front of me, which I did. And when that guy, I think his name was Adam.
Adam, yep.
Yep. You know, great guy.
Absolutely.
And when Tim was saying that he doesn't, you know, he didn't want to sell his cards at a lower price for him, he was very understanding. He completely,
Yes.
you know, there was no animosity. He wasn't angry at all. He understood that, and so did we, that he was buying to resell. We weren't, you know, if we weren't willing to go down that far, that was fine. But anyways, when I sold all my stuff, I was thinking, you know, what am I going to do now? So I started walking around and I started buying a few things. Yep. I bought an autographed Roger Clemens card, and I'll show a picture of it a little bit later, and $20. And it was an awesome card. And it was because the guy who I bought it from couldn't find a price. I searched online. I couldn't find a price. He looks at me and goes, how about $20? And I was like, yep, that works. And then I bought a few other cards as well. A really nice Wade Boggs autograph card. And so that was kind of the end of day 2 at the National. And that would have been Thursday.
Correct.
Yeah, Thursday. Friday was a day where we were walking around again pretty much all day. We had kind of tried to figure out if we were going to do trade night again, if we weren't going to, because if we were going to, we would have had to have gotten in line again, got the bracelets, done the whole process again. But I didn't have anything anymore for trade night. And it really was kind of a monotonous process. So
And you know, you really, as the saying goes, you had to go outside to change your mind.
Yeah.
It was so crowded.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I knew that Pete didn't have anything that he wanted to sell, because obviously he was buying the stuff. I knew that Mike had some stuff, but he was going to try to go to ComC, you know, and do his thing today, which is what he did.
Yeah.
And in my case, I just didn't want to take him out of the bet and carrying that stuff around.
Yeah.
I literally had my carry-on suitcase that I had my clothes in to get us there, in order to not have to have all that weight on my shoulders the previous day. And I said, you know what? I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And like I said, because I still do shows, I was fine with that.
Yeah.
But that day was really about me and my collecting needs, for, you know, some of it. And then, of course, I was looking for stuff for a couple of I'll call them clients.
Yeah.
Slash, friends?
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
I think I've made friends with those individuals. And I was able to, really, one gentleman wanted the 1972, he wanted to complete his set, and he needed about, 40 maybe, I'm
Yeah.
going to say, of the high number 72s. And I was able to not only get him what he monetarily wanted to spend, but for $20 more, I got him 2 big cards that he's now ecstatic. So he only needs 3.
Yeah.
And then one lady that does she and her husband, they do Steelers. I was able to pick some of that stuff up.
Yeah.
And then I found a couple cards for myself. But Friday was really the day that I did.
Yeah.
I went back to one of the spots. I'm trying to fill team sets of the Dodgers from 1955 to 1968. And I was able to pretty much, I'm going to say with maybe 90% able to do that.
Yeah.
For all those different years. So I'm happy, it worked out well for me and that was fun.
Yeah. The big thing that I got on Friday was I bought a Babe Ruth card with a piece of his game-used bat when he played for the Boston Red Sox, and I couldn't believe it. I saw it. I was able to negotiate the price down. I think it's number 9 of 10. So it's outstanding. And I'm going to post a picture of it while we're, right here in a second, and you'll see it. So I was able to get that. I was able to buy some other things as well. So I'd been saving for this trip for quite a while. So the money that I brought here really was for me to fulfill a dream, have some fun, get the cards that I wanted, and not only that, some of the things that I saw that I didn't even know that I kind of wanted, but were just awesome to have, weren't even necessarily sports autographs and sports cards. I got Dick Van Dyke's autograph. I got Ian McKellen's autograph. I got those on Saturday. But my gosh, those were just so cool. When I saw them, and again, negotiated the price down. I got a piece of handwriting by Ty Cobb, which I'll never get a Ty Cobb autograph, but that's about as close as I'm going to come, and it's so cool. And again, I'm going to show a picture here of that in a second. But one of the things that we both noticed, and we've talked about this, off camera, is it was definitely easy to see who was there to sell.
Yes.
And who was there who they just didn't seem to care if they took everything home with them, because their prices were just outrageous, and not only that, not willing to negotiate.
Yeah. And in fact, we saw that somebody else did a podcast earlier today. We were watching it, and the guy said the same thing.
Yeah.
The prices were crazy high. Again, I can't remember if I mentioned, but I was looking for a Jackie Robinson. And I'm an old guy, so Beckett is the Bible of sports cards. It said that a 2 should be 200. They were looking at 600, 650 for 1.5s and 1s. And that just, for me, was an eye-opener.
Yeah.
Because all these other cards I was seeing, T209s, Ty Cobb cards, Mickey Mantle cards, the prices looked like they were way out of whack without really having the knowledge.
Yeah.
And so to hear other people, saying the same things.
Yeah.
And they figure they've got you. And partly they do.
Yeah.
You're there to buy cards, to look for what you want, and they're hoping you won't leave without that card. They're okay to leave without that. In fact, I bet you 80% maybe of the dealers there were buying.
Yeah.
And it was buying to, I think, resupply and or supply
Yep.
their own businesses. And so if they went home, as Pete said, if they went home with everything, they were okay with that.
Yeah.
It was the guy that had maybe a table or 2 tables and only had a few, display cases with, 100 or fewer cards. That guy was there and saying, hey, look, I got to pay for these rentals for this week.
Yeah.
So that person was more apt to come down.
Yeah, and there were some people that were certainly apt to come down. I bought a Jason Tatum autograph for $50 lower than they were asking, which I couldn't believe. I didn't think every Jason Tatum autograph that I had seen before this show was $700 or more. So I was thinking, yeah, that's not going to happen. Nor did I want to spend that much on one. It's not that I couldn't have bought it. I didn't want to spend it that much on it. So when I saw one at a fraction of that, I was like, holy cow, I can't say no to this just because the Boston Celtics are my favorite team. And it was, you saw that throughout the show. Again, the ones that were willing to negotiate, willing to work with you. You might propose a price and okay, they're not going to do that, and that's okay. I understand, but they weren't blowing you off. It wasn't like you've insulted them if you asked them for 25% off the asking price. And I get it. Some of them, these people they were there to make money and there to make contacts. So if they bought a card for $200, they weren't going to sell it for $205 or $200 or $190. They had to make something on it. But again, it was quite an experience. And again, after we're done talking here, I'm going to splice in some video of different things that I saw, that we saw, experiences that we had. We both got to make our own Upper Deck cards, and those are fun.
Yeah.
And then. Because we were basically just tapped out. It was 4 days minimum, 4 8-hour days of sports cards all day long in huge crowds. We figured, we've got a 9-hour drive today. We're not even going to do it today.
Yeah. And it was a good choice, by the way.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. So let's look at some of those videos that I made, and then we'll have some closing thoughts. This is part of the Heritage Auction booth at the National, and I had to get video of the Star Wars things here because it was just so incredible to see these items. These are screen-used items in a lot of cases. There we have some lightsabers. Those are really cool to see. Over here, we have some comic books that are being auctioned off through Heritage. There's the famous Hulk comic with the first appearance of Wolverine. Some hand-drawn artwork. More Spider-Man and Iron Man iconic comic books. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. So some absolutely great, cool things to see here in the Heritage Auction area. All right, so Tim, the National. What are your closing thoughts here?
Well, I would tell you, if you ever got a chance to go, you gotta go.
Yeah.
A. B, if you want to get the full effect, it's minimally a 2-day thing.
Yeah.
Again, Pete was mentioning and talking about 8-hour days. We were there longer.
Yeah.
When it opened at 9 and we're leaving one day at 9,
Yeah.
okay? Or we're and by the way, that's just being in there, okay? We left our hotel at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
Got a little breakfast, and then we're on the road. 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later, we are in the garage. We are now going, and we're waiting in line.
Yeah.
Just to get in. So you were on your feet quite a bit. I would tell you also that we saw a lot of people with different things that they were using for seats.
Yeah.
One person had a 5-gallon bucket with a cap.
Yep.
Others had these things I'd never seen before. They were like accordion type things where they were round.
It's
and
like
they
one of
twisted
those,
them.
It was like one of those old collapsible camping cups.
Exactly.
But it was a seat instead, so it was
seat.
huge.
And so if you do go, you're gonna want to get off your feet. There is some floor space. Pete and I on a couple of occasions said, you know what, let's have a snack. Let's sit right here.
Yeah.
As long as we were out of the way, we felt good.
Yeah.
But again, if you love cards like we love cards, I mean, you were just immersed in it from the moment you got in that room
Yeah.
until the moment you left.
Yeah.
And then some.
Yeah, I loved it. It was I said it was a once in a lifetime thing, and I'm hoping it's not a once in a lifetime thing, because I won't be going back next year. But maybe in a handful of years, we can go again, and maybe we'll convince some other people to go with us.
Right.
So Mike and Joey, maybe you can
That's
come
right.
with us. But it was fantastic. It truly, truly was. The things I got to see, the people you talk to, because everybody's there, for that same. Well, I can't say for the same thing, but there's all the positive interest in the hobby and in cards. Some people are a little more cutthroat, obviously, and they're in it for the money. But you can tell who the collectors are, who are just awestruck by seeing these things. And those are the people you kind of gravitate to and that you strike up conversations with. But like Tim said, minimum 2-day thing. We were fortunate and we got the all access VIP passes, and I would highly recommend that, because that was free parking for every day there in the parking garage, and normally that was $20 a day.
Yeah.
So that was huge. We got to go in early. If we had wanted autographs, we would have gotten priority access in those lines, but the prices were huge.
Yeah.
So, but I thought it was just truly, truly outstanding, and I'm very thankful that I had this opportunity. We had this opportunity to go. So
Couldn't have gone with a better guy.
Oh, thanks, me too. Yeah, and Mike, it was great being with you there.
Yes,
there too. We had a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, I'm glad you were able to come up. So we're gonna sign off here. Please like and subscribe. Leave any comments, any questions. From here on out, we're probably gonna do one video a month about our adventures in card collecting and in card dealing. So thanks everyone again. Like and subscribe, and we will see you later.
Enjoy.